Three entrepreneurs, one podcast, zero chance we agree on everything. This is the Ron Table. When business gets real, life gets messy, guests drop in, opinions fly, and yes, movie quotes are basically a second language. Business, life, occasional dumpster fire. So pull up your seat and let's get into it. Hey, welcome back to the Ron Table, where business gets real, life gets messy, and the conversations are anything but polished. And if you would have just heard what we were talking about pre-show, you would absolutely understand why we're not polished. But I'm Ron Miller, and every week, my co-host and I sit down with fellow entrepreneurs and talk about what's working, what's not, and all the stuff that everyone says in their head out loud and not verbally out loud. We're here for the raw conversations. We're real people. And the kind of insights we want to bring you only come from us living it. So grab a seat, pull up your chair, and this is the part that they'll never teach you in business school. So welcome back, everybody. I'm excited for everybody to be here today. And you'll notice we have a fourth face who normally isn't on screen, but she is always there off screen with us. So please welcome Adrienne Roughart from ACR Ventures, who is our guest, one of our repetitive co-hosts, and our producer. So Adrienne, welcome to the table.
Thank you.
We're excited to physically have you involved for the first time.
It's good to be on this side as opposed to enjoying the podcast on the back end and editing it. So thank you for having me. It's a thrill to sit down with all of you and get my voice in, because as I'm editing, it's fun to be like, oh no, wait, I wish I was there. So it's good to be here.
Excited to have you, especially with today's topic, because today we're going to get into marketing. And, you know, if marketing today feels like everyone like yelling into a megaphone, into a canyon, wearing the same outfit, I don't know, in my opinion, that you're wrong. You know, I think we're at a peak in marketing with, you know, look at me, you know, but who's actually buying, who's building trust? You know, what does marketing mean anyway? And I think it's a great conversation, you know, for all of us to have here, because we have some marketing professionals in the mix from different facets of marketing. Because it's not like Peter Griffin says, you know, if you ever watch The Family Guy, it's like marketing's created to talk to somebody like me. The lowest common denominator. If you've not seen Family Guy, that's what Peter Griffin was referring to in that episode, because he's as dumb as a box of rocks. But marketing is not really designed to talk to the lowest common denominator. There's so many different facets of marketing. And, you know, one of the things, and I'll tell you this story before we kind of get into it, and this is like the authenticity piece, right? So here's about as authentic as you'll get. And I just want to share this with you because being authentic matters. So for those of you that know me and you see me, you always see me on the shows, or if you see me on a video call, I am always wearing one of my company shirts. So for me as an entrepreneur, right, one of the things that I got used to in 30 years in corporate, you get up, you dress the part, you go in, you go to your customer meetings, right? So coming out on my own, every morning I still get up and I get dressed and I put on like company polo, like I am ready to go. Otherwise, I don't feel like I'm really working. And like yesterday, so this is about as authentic as I can possibly get. Yesterday, I had a panic attack, like partway through the morning. This is good, as stupid as this sounds. I realized that I had on my lawn sneakers and not like my good shoes. And I was like, I had to get it like right in my head, like, you idiot, like, how were you even productive wearing your grass mowing sneakers, dummy? Like, you know, they're old and they're covered in grass and they stink because they're probably like 4 years old, you know? And that's
I love Ron again with these real world problems. He had grass.
Yeah. But marketing's about being authentic. And this is about as authentic as I can get. This is me, right? You want the me? This is the world of crazy that goes on in here, right? I got to wear the shirt. I got to have the right shoes. I might not be meeting anybody, but at least my dog over here knows that I'm actually doing something, right? That's kind of where I'm at. But marketing means so many different things. And I think we got to really kind of break it down, you know, because I know listen, I got blessed because I was introduced to great people like Adrian and now Lainey, that not only that I could learn from and partner with, but that help propel things along. But marketing means so many different things. So I want to kick it over to the marketers first. So Adrian, for you, like in your line of business, because what you do is different than what Lainey does. And I am sure it is very different from what novices like myself. I won't say Nicole's a novice because she's actually a better marketer than I am, I feel. But for a novice like me, so what does marketing really mean and what do you do with it?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of just core principles that's just the basis of marketing as a practice, right? It's a few things. It's identifying your audience. You have to know who you're talking to. You can't be all things to all people. So you have to know who your audience is. And then marketing as a practice is how you strategically reach that audience through different channels and convert it to sales. So it's identifying them, reaching them, converting them. And that's sort of the process of marketing. And there's, as you mentioned, so many different facets, so many different ways of doing it. But as a general practice, that's how I think about what I do as a marketing consultant.
So you have these different facets of you have branding, you have content, you have social, you're going to have collateral, because collateral is like part of marketing. Email obviously is part of marketing. Sales is part of marketing. Recruiting is part of marketing. Recruiting and marketing are not the same. I will always emphasize that because recruiting is not marketing. Marketing is not recruiting, but I digress. But it's interesting to get that kind of perspective from an overall sequence in kind of how, you look at it and how you work through it.
Because even all of those things that you're talking about, from collateral, from social, from digital, from email, all of those things still come back to identifying your audience, how you're going to reach them, converting to sales. It's still all of those things. It's still the same underlying principles of the practice.
And you have to have all the pieces too.
100%.
You can't just be marketing in a single siloed box.
No, it can't just be design. It can't just be social. It has to have all pieces that tie together.
Yeah, makes sense. And I think for me, I struggle with that. Now, Nicole, I see your stuff out there. And for some reason, every time I see your stuff, I always feel it's so much more put together and authentic. And I don't know how you get there, but it is. To me, it is.
Well, it's interesting because I was listening to what Adrian said, and to me, that's how I always knew marketing to be. I think for me, I even kind of changed it up as I was going because at a corporate level, obviously sales at the bottom, this is the bottom line. And of course, we're all trying to get sales. We're not corporate, but it's also how you make people feel. And I think that's another part that kind of people forget about because it is so the reach out and like you're saying, even with your shirt and all that. But I think people forget, you still have to connect with folks. And that's sometimes when I see friends of mine who are struggling, they're like, well, I got the shirt and, I'm putting stuff out there but are you connecting? Are you excited about your business as other people, you want to get other people excited. I think that's another part of marketing. Lainey brought a good point before we started, just some tips on LinkedIn. Replying to your folks. If folks are, look at your page, sometimes they have a little view, people have viewed your page. Maybe sometimes reach out to them. There's your brand, especially when you're an entrepreneur and a solopreneur, you're always, so all that touching is great, but you got to touch because it is part of the business. Like Adrian was saying, you still got to connect. I see so many people start a business and they have a t-shirt or website and then they don't do anything else.
Right.
And okay. But sales is part of it. You still have to, you're not there yet.
And to go even deeper, it's not just about the sale in terms of making money. To your point, connection, that's a conversion point, right? So maybe think about it more as your audience, how you reach them, and converting. And whatever that metric is, certain things are going to 100% drive you monetary sales. Certain things are going to drive views or eyeballs or whatever that is. So maybe it's thinking more about that conversion point and what that conversion metric is. You're right. At corporate, it's absolutely about the sale and what that metric is, but there's so many points of conversion along the way that are absolutely super important.
Yeah.
And Elena and Adrian, I actually had a question for you because I've always heard marketing isn't just one thing, it's everything. And could you both kind of talk about that? Because I think that's something that's so important that people need to hear. Because I'm telling you, so many people I know who they go, oh, I only do LinkedIn. And I'm like, as great as LinkedIn is, you do need more than, but I'd love to get you two to kind of answer that question if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like I was saying before, you can't just do the one thing because everything connects. So you need social, you definitely need email, you definitely need graphic design, you need SEO, all of the things because they all tie in together. So if you are putting something out there via email, just because that's my thing, I'm going to need graphics that relate to what I'm talking about and that actually fit the tone and the messaging. So you need a experienced designer. And yeah, I do stuff in Canva, but it's nice to have a professional that can actually create that imagery. And then I want to put the same exact message out on my social medias so that everything is consistent. So you want that, I hate to use like the corporate term, holistic approach. I want to like throw up because I just said that. But
Well,
Yeah.
lady, if you're going to spew this.
exactly. I might need,
We,
yeah.
we need to do a chart every show, like who said a corporate word? Lady said,
Yes. And then you can run it up the flagpole.
If all else fails,
Ooh.
pivot.
On what I was saying. Yeah, you do need everything to kind of speak to each other. And, you can't just do social because I will probably sound like a broken record saying this, but you don't own the email contacts on social media. So if social media goes away, you're screwed. So you want to bring in everyone to your email list so that you have that. And then you can continue to communicate and, use all of the design elements within that. And it's really just to get people to talk to you. That's really all it is.
Absolutely. I completely agree. It's another horrible corporate word, but it's multi-channel. It's
Mhm.
all of those things. It's the collateral. It's the shirts. I mean, it starts at your logo. It starts at your name. It starts at the very base of your business and goes all the way through. And all of those touch points are really important. And yes, everything is marketing and everything or can be used as marketing and should be. As a sole business owner, you have to think about how all of those things fit into your brand and what you're ultimately selling to people,
Right.
which in our cases is us. It's a lot more about us than our product.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to say too, Ron.
Circling back.
Ron's point about being, authentic, like, yes, you can have, the t-shirt and all of those things, but if you forget and you have your lawn shoes on one day, then it's not going to matter. So I think you have to be you. And I think so many people start out by thinking they have to be one way. Like I always dreaded posting on LinkedIn because I was like, oh my God, I'm so not like an influencer. I'm not going to like go into all these like deep corporate things. Like I don't want to. And I would try and force it and it was miserable. And then I realized just, within the past couple of years even, like I just need to be myself and not care. So like I like to quote movies all the time. So my LinkedIn posts are probably going to have some stupid meme on them that relates to an 80s, 90s film. And then it got way more fun and people were responding to me more because I was just being me. So just marketing is important, but you have to be true to yourself and your brand.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that because I mean, I feel like, especially getting laid off and when you're on LinkedIn and social media, you feel like you're always talking on behalf of the company. And then not having that anymore is nice because now it's just like, it's me, it's all me. And I don't have
Yeah.
to do corporate speak, and I can just say whatever, maybe throw in a few curse words, some good movie quotes, talk about music, talk about your family, just talk about if you had a crappy day. And I think people, they can resonate with that. It's like your vibe, your voice kind of thing, and they like that. So,
Yeah.
See, this is an area that I struggle with. And it's funny enough because Listen, when I was in the corporate world, maybe it's just a programming feature in my brain. I used to get in a lot of disagreements because I would want to be outside of the box with
No.
marketing, because especially
That, my friend, is on brand. That is your brand. Here is the box, and here is Ron.
here's me. I'm way over here, right? It's
You're like, Ron, where are you?
But I used to disagree with them vehemently because they'd always want to wait, like, especially in a franchising community. You have new ownership coming in, you're launching in a new market. And I used to say all the time, if you want to build recruiting and sales ahead of schedule, you have to. You can't wait till you open and then not have any business or any people coming in, because nobody gives a crap about what's a Ron staffing. It doesn't matter. You can put any name on a building and staffing. They come for who's inside the building. And that's part of the marketing and getting it out early, of building that momentum and it's coming. And while I was great at kind of promoting that, I was never very successful in getting buy-in in that. But transitioning to my own business, I struggle with this. I think number one in my own head, like, a lot of marketing from a personal branding perspective is video. And listen, I always say, like, the only thing I can market is the before for the Jenny Craig ad, right? Like, this is the before. That's how I think of myself, right? I'm the before guy. Like, you want to sell a McRib, I'm like the nose and face where it's dripping off. I don't eat it, but I sure look like I've stuffed 50 of them down this pie hole, right? So, like, I hate myself on video, and I can never seem to really find my right voice, and I don't know if it's just because I'm so used to using my inside voice. I lost my outside voice, but I feel like, and I'd probably drive Adrian crazy with this over time, because I'm always like, because I don't know what works, and I can't seem to find my groove and my voice with it. And for me, as a solo business owner and entrepreneur, it's frustrating because that can not damage what you're doing, but it really kind of pushes you back in timeline of people really understanding who you are and what the hell you do.
But I think that almost works for you, Ron, because again, nobody wants perfection. Like, if you're not looking at the camera, if your body's not right or whatever, I think that almost works for you. And I think it kind of goes back to what we talked about the last time we all got together. It's that whole idea of, like, who are you? Or the whole, because, that's why I'm doing rebranding, because I was so caught up on the name of my business. When everybody had the name, nobody cared about the name. They cared about you. Like, when you're a business of Warren, like, we're not McDonald's, where you can go to anywhere in the country and a baby sees the Golden Arches, they know they're going to get a prize. If somebody sees the name of our business, they're going to be like, okay, I don't know that, but they'll know you. You know what I mean? Like, they'll know Ron.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of, like, I'm going through. I was so into and focused on everybody knowing the name of my company, but at the end of the day, everybody was responding to me.
Yep.
And I think that's the part that you get so caught up in your head as far as when you're doing your own thing. Because we came from a world of everybody knew the name of all of our companies. If we all said the company we all came from, everybody would be like, oh yeah, I get it.
Right.
Okay. So nobody knows us, and that's what's frustrating, but they know us. It's great, like Adrian saying, that we have a beautiful logo, that our name, we created these great names, and we create all this great merch. But at the end of the day, people are going to follow me. And I think that's sometimes the hard part, that we have names. So
It is. I was going to say the same thing, Nicole, because I started my business so long, it's 10 years ago. And I absolutely hate my business name because I thought I had to be, like, catchy and different. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to, like, be so different and people are going to love it. And I absolutely hate it because I'm like, it makes no sense. Like, it's stupid. I should have just stuck with my own name, and, like, granted my initials are in there, but I'm like, why did I have to, like, try and be cool and different? Like, if I could go back in time and change it, I would.
You still can.
And I don't even say it half the time in anything. So it's like, I don't even have it. But I mean, I also am one, Ron, who hates herself on video. Like, I never put video out there of myself. And everybody yells at me because they're like, you just need to show you more. And I'm like, I don't want to.
But I would also, like, take the other position on that and say, I also don't think you have to.
True.
Because if that isn't authentically you, I also think that you could come off as just a try hard who's just trying to like be viral, trying to do what everybody else is doing because they say I have to. Like, if that's not you, if talking head videos are not your thing, find other ways to do that, because at the end of the day, someone's not going to buy from you because you have really great talking head videos either. So I also think, and we'll probably get into it more later about that authenticity. And if that isn't authentically you, I also think that you shouldn't feel pressured into doing what other people do. Now, if it's something you want to do and there's somebody who's doing it and doing it really well, then fantastic, learn from them and mimic what they're doing. But you also, I think, it can come across as inauthentic if you are doing things that just don't work for you. So I also don't think that people should feel pressured, because just because it works for someone else doesn't mean it's going to work for you at all.
I'm so glad you said that, because I was talking to somebody the other day who was like, you really got to work on your email. And I said, just right now, I just don't want to.
Yeah.
I think I have so many other things going on. I just don't have the time. And I feel like if I can't put the time in it, it'll just be another half-ass newsletter that somebody else gets that they don't want. So I don't want to do that. They was like, yeah, but everybody's doing it. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to do it.
Have to. And I actually just had this conversation with somebody about email and that's like what I do for a living. I literally just told someone, like, don't worry about this yet, because you don't have to. Like, go focus on whatever you're doing right now and, collect the emails for sure, so you have them, but you don't have to do anything with them right now if you don't have anything to say, or you just don't have the time to do that, because it's not a small thing. Like, each one of these marketing channels is a full-time job. That's why they're specialists in our marketing fields. That's why I'm in email. That's why you're in design and video and producing podcast. I mean, all of the things. Like, I feel like it's all under one big umbrella of graphic design, creativity. I mean, that's why we all have our special things. So you don't have to do everything. It's just we always feel all this pressure to be like, oh, well, if that's what's trending right now, we should be doing it. And it takes all of us to get slapped in the face. Be like, oh, you don't have to.
But that's why it's a trend, and eventually it'll go away and it'll replace something else, and there'll be some other channel to drive you crazy.
Right. Right.
I know it drives me nuts. You get like these 12-year-old kids that do like a weird dance, and all of a sudden they're making, like $52,000 a month in residuals from TikTok. And I'm like, how do I get a follower? Like, and who has the time for this? Like,
I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and go out there and say, let's not dance on video to try to attract people.
no.
I agree.
Oh,
That goes for all of us.
Yeah,
no.
that ship sailed.
But it's interesting to hear all of you with the background really talk about it, because, getting into it and even working, Adrian, early on and looking at what is that marketing plan and calendar and then the content that you originally created. I mean, we've come a long way in that evolution from where we started to where we are. But I still am like, for me in my brain, I don't know for my business if there's do's and don'ts for what I do versus, because not all marketing is going to be the same for every business. Every business is going to be marketed differently. And I don't know in my head that I still know my right do's and don'ts in terms of what I offer from a consulting perspective of services for operations and for direct hire services. That's not just filling orders and training support. Finding that right balance of video and content and blogs and like, how do you show your value and your worth? And then everybody on the other side receives it a different way. Like, what's authentic to one person could be completely inauthentic to another.
I think the authenticity comes through you. So you just try things and just throw stuff against the wall and see what works for you and what you like doing, because whatever avenue you decide to take, then you're going to be more comfortable and authentic. And then that will show the end user or reader, watcher, whatever, that, oh, this guy looks comfortable and knows what he talks about and knows what he's talking about. He looks really confident. I want to work with him.
Yeah, I just read this article about Mel Robbins because, she's got that big book that's, 3 million in like 3 months or something crazy, the numbers.
Yeah.
But she was talking about her first book, like, didn't do anything. And then when she started out, she didn't have a lot of people. And then it's just kind of like, she just kept changing it because, again, people were giving her feedback and she was trying to get more comfortable with her until she kind of figured out her groove. And I really think that's kind of everybody who starts out. Like if we look at like the most like famous people, Tony Robbins has a story, or, whatever speakers are out there, Lisa Mickles, whatever, they all have that same story. Nothing worked in the beginning. I think people see your after and think you were always like that. One day, Ron, people are going to be like, what? You didn't do this? Because everybody, like, we're in the before, like you were saying, but we're going to have that after story. And people think all of a sudden you're just out there. They don't see all the work you put in. Think of all just famous people we know. They all had to start somewhere. And I see you, Ron, 'cause we talk about this all the time. You're trying to figure out how to make everybody happy. And I think you got to figure out just make you happy, because if you build it, they will come, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, don't worry about them. Worry you. Now I feel like I'm doing a TED talk or
no, it's true though. It's so true.
Because honestly, I'm going through that. I was so worried about what other people were saying and, the feedback, or like one person could say something. And I'm sure you all have felt this, to ruin your whole week. And you're like, why did I listen to one person? Like, one person said one thing. And then this is like friends or family. And you're like, why did I let them throw me off my game? You still just keep doing it and just convinced that people will come. And I'll be honest with you, another thing I stopped doing a long time ago, I stopped worrying about like the count and the followers.
Yeah.
Because that was consuming me, to be honest with you. And I don't know if you all went through this. I'd kind of look and be like, ooh, I do follow. And I just like, you know what? I can't. If they're going to follow, they're going to follow. If they don't, whatever. I'm still going to just put my shit out there.
Yeah.
So.
And actually, if you look at things like just Instagram as an example, even now, the way the algorithm works, they don't even feed you. The algorithm doesn't feed, it feeds you based on content type, not on follower count. It's about engagement. You could have 100 followers, and if all 100 continually engage with your content, you will be fed more often than somebody with 1,000 followers who no one's paying a darn bit of attention to.
Yep.
And so you have to learn to get rid of the noise, find that audience, be consistent with your messaging, and just keep at it. Like, that's the biggest do that I always say to people. It's like, there are certain things that you need to have and that you need to have like nailed down when you start. But the biggest do in marketing is to start.
Yeah.
Like, you can't be hung up on having everything perfected. You have to find the channels that are going to resonate with your audience and find the means by which they're going to absorb your content, whether that's through collateral. It could be direct mail. It could be a big ass billboard. It could be a TV commercial. It could be a reel. It could be any of those things. But my biggest do is to start and be consistent and don't get discouraged. Because the worst thing you can do is start and then give up in a couple of weeks because it hasn't like blown up, because all of a sudden the phone isn't ringing off the hook. And part of that is we just live in such a viral society where everyone's looking for that one moment. And it's hard for those of us who are like really in the trenches trying to make something to not get discouraged, because we want that like one moment for ourselves too. And it's just like getting past all of that and just being consistent and sticking it out and start. Like, just start, because you can really drive yourself crazy in the minutia that in the end doesn't matter. You just need to start, be consistent, and don't give up. Like, just don't give up.
Gotta get Adrian some of these for the church. Because everything she said, I went through, especially that whole trying to be perfect. And it wasn't like truly trying to be perfect. But again, it's like everything had to be ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
I was driving myself nuts, because then if one thing fell, it's like, whoop, you got to start over. It was like, oh my God, stop already.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad you said that, because I think too, as you get older, like we all are, and we're starting something, even though we say we don't want it to, we do want it to be perfect because we're like, this is that one chance. And it's like, oh my God, get over yourself.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna fail, you're gonna make mistakes so many times. Whatever we get caught up on, I gotta do it now. And it's like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of us out there that just focus on the bigger picture, which you should focus on the big picture, but you also need to just realize there's a ton of baby steps to get to that big picture. And they're not going to look the same. But I think if, like Adrienne said, if you just start and you're consistent, at least with a couple of things, that's better than doing
Yeah.
nothing. And you can't get hung up on the followers and the likes and the open and click rates. Like, you cannot get hung up on that stuff because it's different for everybody. And
Mhm.
a lot of it's a bunch of bullshit.
yeah. And I'm so glad you said that too, lady, as far as it being different for everybody, because I just touched on this week where somebody had reached out to me to collaborate and we got to talking and she's like, oh, we do the same thing. I don't think this is going to work. And I had to let homegirl know, we don't.
No.
We don't do the same thing. Yeah, we're both coaches. We're two totally different people.
Yeah.
Our backgrounds are different. We look different. We sound different. So if you're hung up on that, then this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
So,
Because you
But-
offer a completely different perspective to somebody.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So I was
Absolutely.
like, bye. But thank you anyway.
Yeah.
For reaching out because
Yeah.
I don't have time for that either.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have time. People always make fun when we're doing the same thing. Hell, everybody's doing the same thing on LinkedIn. We're
Yeah.
all burning somebody to buy that stuff. Like, hello.
Yeah. It's something to consider too. I actually red let them too. I'm one of those millions of people who like got on the Mel Robbins train. Actually didn't finish it, but it was good. Like I was like 3/4 of the way through and I was like, I got it, girlfriend. I'm ready. I am empowered.
I'm all
Let's
Adrienne.
do
She was
the
not
thing.
like, well, I didn't finish it, but anything.
I didn't finish it, but I got out of it.
But as a review for Mel Robbins.
I did get a lot of good stuff from it. And then finally I just got to the point and I was like, I got it. I'm empowered. Let's do this. But that's one of the things that she says in that book is like, she's like, I was against certain things, but what I did is I found somebody who was doing what I wanted to do and doing it well and like mimic them. Do what they're doing, but in your own way. And
Yeah.
eventually it will catch on. And it is hard not to get stuck on certain things because you think like, of course, I want 1,000 people to see my message versus 30 people to see my message. And so you do have to set these, sort of goals for yourself, just to have that response or that sounding board to say, okay, this is what I'm doing is working, right? Because you also want to stop doing what isn't working, right? If it's not working, you have to figure out a way to make it work or change something around and have it work for you. But I think that it is super important to do that research and find somebody within your space who's doing exactly what you want to do, but adopt it for yourself and make it work for your business. Because look, we're not finding the cure for cancer. We aren't out here like, doing all of this like life-altering work. And so it's okay to take what someone else is doing and to say, okay, we are doing similar things, right? I am a consultant. I am a coach. I am whatever. And this is what I see that they're doing that resonated with me. And so I feel like if I take this and I put my brand to it and I put my stamp on it and I make it my own and put it out there in the world, I think that's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay to see what somebody else is doing
Yeah.
and
I
make it work for yourself. Like, why reinvent the wheel?
Yeah. I call it having your Starbucks moment because I wrote this paper when I was in college as far as, Starbucks in the day is coffee. There's nothing
Yeah.
sexy about coffee. I mean, nobody's ever like, ooh, I can't wait to have, some black coffee. It's coffee. But in Starbucks, just, it was just the experience of it. That's what we all got
Yeah.
caught up on, wanting the fancy cup and going there. And it's like,
Yeah.
having your order be 8 minutes long, the half, milk, or whatever. It was just the whole experience. But it's coffee.
It's
Yeah.
the end of the day, it's coffee. You're
Right.
absolutely right.
That's why, when people get caught up on what they're doing, I'm like, yeah, but like you were saying, you just make it your own. Okay. Like, honestly, I always feel some kind of like, oh, you're a life coach. I'm like, ooh, I don't really care. I think I will. It's very, whole,
Right.
we're just hippie. I'm kind of like, ooh, with crystals. And it's like, that's not
sound
me.
baths and
Not me. I wasn't like,
That is not you.
no.
I have this visual of Nicole peddling crystals now that I cannot get out of my head.
You are coaching kids about that and there, but all the jokes about being a life coach and all, and it's like, no, I'm very in my purpose because that's not me. And I don't have a problem with, laughing about it or whatever, but it's like, that's not who I am. But at the same token, I know there's a lot of coaches out there, but how do you stand out? Just like consultants and speakers and authors. What is it that you're bringing to the table? Because we're not all the same.
Right.
all right, have confidence in yourself, because while you might be delivering the same end product, you have something that that person doesn't have, and that's you. And that's something that they can never have. They aren't you. They can't be you. They can't deliver what you can deliver. It can be the same product, but it's not you.
I feel like that deserves a golf clap.
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Don't worry, my arms. My feet are clapping too.
I know. Yeah. Someday
All right,
I'm lucky to
well,
get shoes on.
Oh, well, I think this conversation almost warrants a second episode because I feel like we've only really scratched the surface, especially for new business owners like ourselves. This is something we're just going to continually struggling with. And I think it's important to drive. I want to drive this one point home. And this is from myself, and this is for anyone out there listening. When you have professionals that know what the hell they're doing, number one, listen to them, right? Don't go off on a tangent, right? So if you're looking for folks that know what the hell they're doing and you want that help, you have an Adrian here and you have a Lainey here, two different disciplines of what they do. But you obviously can tell they know what the hell they're doing with it. I can vouch for it, right? So, and if you need someone that has a high tolerance level for change and not go with the plan, but stays with you no matter what, I highly recommend ACR Ventures because it's amazing some days that Adrian is still here.
We have been through it. I told Ron from day one, I am third in line for wanting to see your business succeed. You, your wife, maybe fourth because, you have kids. But I'm right there in line wanting to see you succeed, which is one more point to bring up. One do that I recommend for anybody starting their business. And this isn't marketing related. This is just from being a solopreneur, is find a mentor. Find somebody or a sounding board if the word mentor feels off. But you're never too old to learn. You're never too old to have that person you can speak to and bounce ideas off of. And it doesn't have to be some big, formal thing, but just find that person who you can call or you can reach out to and say, I have this idea, or I have this thought, or I'm feeling this way. I just think I have a fantastic mentor who used to be my boss a decade ago. We remained friends. Now she's a client, but she has been with me through everything. One of the absolute smartest women I've ever met. And she is no nonsense. And she will be the voice coming back to me that you don't really want, but you need. So find a mentor, find that person who's not afraid to push back. And although I've worked with Ron now for about a year or so that we've worked together, I know that I can say what I need to say to him. And so it's surrounding yourself to find that mentor, find those people who are, whether it's marketing, setting up your business, it doesn't matter what discipline or what part of your business it is, find that mentor and find that person you know is going to be honest and truthful and that mirror that you might not want.
Yes, exactly. You need your people.
Yeah, I was
You
just
have to have your people. It's lonely building a business. It's lonely, but you don't have to be alone.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
finding your tribe, just like this. What are those 2 or 3 people that you all could come together and just talk about it? I mean, the one thing when I was first starting out, everybody said, just make sure you always communicate with other people, within your field, other entrepreneurs. Because it is lonely.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
lonely. When I go to the lunchroom, I don't have my little folks there to kiki and joke with. So I got to call around and
This is our water cooler. I love it. Well, I think it's a good way to kind of segment out then, because we definitely want to continue this conversation because there's more to go in. But Adrian, why don't you give us, we always close here, and you know this from
Okay.
editing all this, is
Yeah.
what was your WTF and your FTW over the last week?
Oh, for the week. So my win for me is, as we know in marketing, everything is evolving and changing all the time. And so I am constantly researching and trying new things. So I told myself, a lot of times we can be our own worst enemy, right? Like, especially in marketing, the things that I recommend to other people, I don't always do myself, right? For my own business. And so I promised myself, I told myself that I have a personal Instagram. I'm an avid reader, as Ron knows, which I thank you for following me, Ron. I think if you do. But I promised myself I was going to give myself this challenge, and I was going to, test this theory of mine. And I grew 30% in 2 weeks. And I tested my theory, and that is my win. I'm proud of myself for sticking to it and listening to myself. And my WTF, if I can't just say the world, because honestly, what the fuck? But I guess I'll just stick with the same thing and just say to myself, why the fuck didn't I start sooner? Why didn't I do what I have been telling my own clients to do or to do for myself? Take my own advice. Like, why? WTF? Why didn't I take my own advice?
Welcome to my world.
Yeah. I'm like, hello, pot calling kettle.
I feel like I'm holding up a mirror right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is true. Like, when you tell people, you're like, you should do this, or you have that hard conversation with other people, but you're really afraid to have a hard conversation with yourself. And I had the hard conversation with myself, and I was like, I'm going to test this theory and see if what I'm saying is BS. And it wasn't BS, and I'm proud of myself for that.
Yay.
I love it.
Love
I
it.
love it. Awesome. Nicole.
All right. Mike, for the week, for the win, it's sports themed. Everything is sports themed. But I want to say, I'm going to co-sign what Adrian said too, as far as doing something for yourself. But first of all, for the win, you get to see that Shaquille O'Neal is just like regular people. So if you watch Inside the NBA, and he was on recently, he is a rapper. I mean, and we've all been there. I've been in meetings. I sat on stage and had to go. It was just dying. Well, Homeboy was like in the middle. He just got up and just watch.
On national television.
And everybody was like, yeah, you know the one. And then, and the camera just was like, where is he going? And he was like, he coming back. And I hold it. I'm sorry. I was waiting for y'all to go to commercial break, but it just was not going to happen. I said, hey, I'm not mad at you. That's not great marketing. And I know it was unintentional, but he's just, who hasn't been there? You have to go pee. You got things you're going to do. So,
That is authenticity right there.
Yeah.
yes. My WTF. So recently, the Dallas Mavericks general manager, Nico Harrison, he said he quoted, he did not quite know how important Luka Doncic was to Dallas fans. So if you know the whole, it was one of the biggest story that Luka got traded to LA. And when he came back to Dallas, they had like this whole video, and he was crying, and everybody was crying. But when it first happened, like, people were pissed. Like, I had friends who were like going to boycott, they were going to burn their jersey, the whole nine, whatever. I'm not a big Luka fan, but just the fact that the GM actually said, I didn't know how special he was. That's your job. Again,
Right.
going to marketing, the number one person on your team that you traded.
Yeah.
The whole city and the road was pissed.
Good ones.
That's a good one. Lady.
Okay, so my for the win is, I actually just posted this to LinkedIn. Yesterday, I had a conversation with someone who attended my last speaking engagement, and she told me watching my presentation, which was about email, it was an email marketing workshop, was like being stabbed in the eye in a good way. And I fully took that as like the best compliment ever, because I was like, at first I was like, oh gosh, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Then she was like, no, I meant it in a good way. She was like, because I realized like all the things I need to be doing, and you showed me all of the like the graphics of what a nurture program looks like. Like, I need to be doing that. And it was like being stabbed in the eye with it. And I was like, I freaking love you. I was like, yeah, so that was my win. And
Thanks for
what
thanks for murdering me, Lindsay, lady.
I was like, and I even told her, I was like, I'm going to use this as my LinkedIn post tomorrow. Thank you.
Right.
Love it.
My what the fuck? I mean, I'm sorry, but I'm still not over it. Space, like Katy Perry, like all gonna go into goddamn space in like a leotard with. I'm sorry, I cannot. I'm still not over it. I can't. Like, what are we doing?
When marketing goes wrong,
I think that's when marketing goes really wrong because nobody is impressed.
If it makes you feel any better, I'm with you on that. And I posted this on Facebook on my own personal that I very rarely post, but I couldn't help it because every time I see one of those Jeff Bezos rockets, all I think about is Austin Powers.
Yeah,
All I think about is the Powers episode.
I totally like my issue. Like everybody goes to space, have to be a size 8. So
Yeah.
that's not going to work for me.
and
So-
like you don't need oxygen helmets. Don't worry. Like, I'm sorry. How stupid can you be? That's okay. Ron, you're up.
All
right.
All right. Well, I got to keep mine simple. So the last time I played golf, I actually had the first 2 birdies of the year for myself. So
Oh.
I'm going to take those for a win
Goodness.
because purposely on accident, because I am not a fantastic golfer. I just like to play, but I had 2 birdies in that round. So that is my for the win because that made me feel good that, at 50 years old, I still have a little swing prowess out there. And I don't have a WTF because I am sure it's being saved up for tomorrow night to stay sports themed when the Giants pick at number 3. If they take someone named Shedeur Sanders or Travis Hunter, I will riot. I will absolutely riot. But they're the Giants, and I am sure they will fumble that pick, and we will choose somebody that will set our franchise back another 5 years.
Yeah, I'm going to say, get ready to get mad. Get ready to get mad because the
There's-
Giants are good at picking.
No,
there's
they're not.
3 right picks at number 3, and the first pick won't be there, and that is Mr. Cam Ward. That is this year's Jaden Daniels. Mark my words, Jaden Daniels. The next best quarterback in this draft, his name is Will Howard. So that's it. But Cam Ward, Abdul Carter, or Will Campbell. Those are what you choose at 3. And the Giants are going to F it up. And I'm saving my WTF moment for tomorrow because by 8:15, I'll be throwing something into the wall and calling it a goddamn season again. So I'm waiting. I'm waiting for it. I'm just waiting for it. Oh, I am like livid. Like, listen, years ago, I was a Raiders fan, and I was a Raiders fan my whole life until they drafted Robert Gallery when you had Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning, all those guys sitting there, and you need a quarterback, and you take a tackle. And I was done. I was done, and I switched my allegiance. And Giants, I'm about ready to switch my allegiance again. So we're
Ron, with your luck, they may call Aaron Rodgers. That sounds like a
Right.
giant group crowd.
listen, we signed Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. That was my win of not getting Aaron Rodgers. So with that being said, that's a wrap for this episode and this round at the Ron Table. So hopefully what we talked about made you think, made you laugh, made you question everything. That's good or not good, but that's the point of the show. So make sure you hit that follow, share, or like button on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on, or follow us on my website at www.elevate-talent-solutions.com. And let's go around so you can find our co-hosts at, well, let's go backwards this time. Lady, where can find people listening follow you at?
You can find me on LinkedIn. That's where I'm most active, Lainey Belcastro, and my website. Don't even bother with that. LinkedIn.
It'll be in the
That's-
show notes for everybody looking.
Find me on LinkedIn.
Nicole, where can everybody find you?
For follow. You can find me on LinkedIn, or I'm like Lainey. You can go to my website. It's renewedimpact.com. But yeah, LinkedIn, just reach out and give me a holler.
My goodness. Everyone's LinkedIn and website will be in the show comments for anybody following. And I appreciate you all and the conversation. I'm looking forward to the next one. And until next time, keep your seat warm because this table obviously is just getting started. Well, that's a wrap on this episode of The Ron Table. Thanks for pulling up your chair, lending us your ear, and not touching our drums. Interested in more chaos, common sense, and conversations? Well, make sure that you hit that like button or the follow button, or drop us a question or a comment in the comment section below. If you want to follow us on social media, you can check out more under the resources tab at www.elevate-talent-solutions.com. Or you can visit Nicole Gray at renewedimpact.com. Hit up Lainey Belcastro at lmbdigimarketing.com. And a big shout out to our producer and co-host Adrian Roughart at acrventures.com. Until next time, keep that chair warm because we're not done.